D&D classes for people who don't play D&D. Disclaimer, everything I talk about assumes that you, the player, have zero D&D experience with a good DM that you can talk to. One of the simpler classes and the easiest one to learn as a new player, capable of using all weapons, armor, and shields with a simple combat loop that makes them very beginner friendly. And with their relatively low charisma stat, picking a fighter for your first class lets you kind of sit back during social interactions within the game until you feel comfortable enough to join in the roleplay. Now, don't let their simplicity make you believe that this class is boring. Fighters have as much flavor as you give them. These are your Geralt of Rivia or your Marius Titus, two completely different flavors of what can be played by a fighter. If you've played any RPG, there's a 90% chance you've played a fighter. While on the topic of flavor, you don't need an overly complicated backstory to play the character. Something as simple as, I am an adult who wanted to adventure is more than enough. Now to the scary part, numbers. Now this heavily depends on what your DM wants to run with, but as a fighter, you want either strength or dexterity to be your highest stats, followed by constitution and wisdom in that order, with intelligence and charisma essentially being your dump stats. Now, as to not get this confused, the big number dictates the smaller number, and the smaller number is the important one that you add and subtract to your rolls and abilities. Following the chart shown here, a stat spread like this lets you play the character well while still having room for growth as you get more comfortable with the character and the game. Speaking of growth, subclasses. The fighter has 10 subclasses, but for new players, I only recommend 3. The Echo Knight, the Champion, and the Samurai. From easiest to hardest, the Champion is the easiest and the one that I typically recommend for new players. You gain more crit damage, better strength, dex, and con checks, and extra fighting style and survivability in the late game. However, the Samurai, my personal favorite, is a little bit more complex, but it comes with more attacks, better persuasion checks, and a last stand ability capstone. Finally, the Echo Knight definitely has the longest text wall, but it can be boiled down to this. You can now summon an Echo, a copy of yourself. You can use it to attack creatures, you can teleport to it, you can see and hear through it, you can make it protect your allies from getting hit, you gain a shield whenever it dies, and you can even summon 2 of them at once later in the game. Onto the gameplay loop. For a fighter, combat is quite simple. You use your action to attack, and you use your movement to run up to your next victim. Your bonus action can be used on Second Wind if you need the healing, or the features of whatever subclass you chose to go with. However, and I do want to emphasize this, it is 100% okay to not have something to do with your bonus action. I've seen so many players panic because they feel like they need to use their bonus action on something, or else it's a waste. And no, it's not. It is 100% okay not to use it, and sometimes you aren't going to have any uses for it anyway. As a final thought, the fighter is definitely one of the easier classes to start off with, but if the fighter isn't for you, it's 100% okay to change character or change classes. You do not need to tough it out if you're not enjoying the character.